Welcome to episode number 217 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording on live on YouTube on February 16, 2018. A ton of topics to get through this week because we were off a week. We'll get to that. Among the topics, Drake drops a cool mill. Beyond social media show, beyond social media show, beyond social media show. Bad news medicine, ignoring echo. PF, wait, what? Vengeful Valentines, Surly, Minnesota, algorithm hell, Dom Juan, sexist Doritos, single tweets, nasty grammars, Olympic swarm drones, Boston dynamic freaks everybody out. And we start off with the best stories of the week. Before we get to it, though, BL, you just got out of rehab, and now you're laid low by what?
Well, I was healing my bones in rehab. I come home, and I'm not home for a week when I get the damn flu. But my advice to everyone is if you have a fever and you feel sick, go immediately and find out from a swab if you have the flu. And if you do, take Tamiflu, because that's why I'm here tonight feeling ever so much better.
Very good. So let's get on to the best. What's the best story of the week?
Well, Drake, the rapper, just dropped his new video a few hours ago on YouTube, and it starts out with a caption that says the budget for this video was $996,631.90. We gave it all away. Don't tell the label. And I don't know whether everybody knows that Drake is a noted philanthropist, and he's been giving away money and doing good deeds throughout his career. But this is spectacular even for him. And so he went to Miami and he took a tour of the city, paying for strangers' groceries, getting new cars for teenagers. He's giving stacks of cash to struggling families. He gives, I can't think of the word, scholarships to kids who are going to college. He takes people shopping. He gives kids toys. He donates to institutions like the University of Miami's Frost School of Music, the Lotus Women's Home for Women's Shelter, and the City of Miami's Fire Department. He teased it on Thursday with an Instagram where he called it the most important thing I've ever done in my career. The video is a promo for his recent EP called Scary Hours. And Billboard has a link detailing 10 of his most charitable moments, and they're definitely worth looking at, as is the video, which will make you cry.
Very cool. It was absolutely trending on Twitter today and all abuzz at the office. Everybody was talking about it at my office today. All the millennials were all about it. So very, very cool story. My favorite story this week is the fact that we are on the Echo, the Amazon Echo now.
Woo-hoo.
So let's try it out. See if it works. It worked the last time I tried, so you never know. But Alexa, play the Beyond Social Media Show podcast.
Getting the latest episode of Beyond Social Media Show. Here it is from iHeartRadio.
There we go. There's our intro music. Alexa, stop. So it actually does work.
All right.
The fact that we are on iHeart Music got us into the Amazon ecosphere. So you can now get the podcast on Amazon Echo. And I was worried that, because it annoys me when podcasters do this, I was worried that we might trip everybody's echoes to start playing our podcast during the show as they're listening to it. But apparently that's not the case, because my next story is from a Quartz. Kira Bindrim has an article about in September 2014, Amazon patented a technique to prevent the echo from waking up as part of a broadcast. So I think that they implemented this during the Super Bowl broadcast. Bloomberg has reported that the patent broadly describes two techniques. The first calls for transmitting a snippet of a commercial to Echo devices before it airs. And then the Echo can compare the live commands to acoustic fingerprint snippets to determine whether the commands are authentic. And the second tactic describes how a commercial itself could be could transmit an inaudible acoustic signal to Alexa to basically tell itself that it's a commercial and not an actual human who's trying to awake it.
Smart.
Yeah, very smart. In a February 2 blog post by Amazon's director of speech recognition, Manoj Sindwanhi, explains that when multiple devices start waking up simultaneously from a broadcast event, such as the Super Bowl, similar audio is streaming to Alexa's cloud services. An algorithm within Amazon's cloud detects the matching audio from distinct devices and prevents additional devices from responding. So basically, all the data that is going up from Amazon Echo devices sending the same audio fingerprint, they can recognize that fingerprint and say, this is from a broadcast because of the mass volume of it rather than from individuals, and so they'll just turn it off as a result of this. So the dynamic fingerprinting, they say, isn't perfect, but as many as 80 to 90% of devices won't respond to these broadcasts thanks to that dynamic creation of the fingerprints. So thankfully, there's technology that can stop us from being annoyed.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you got, that we got on there. That's very good news. That really is. So speaking of good news, my friend Jennifer Farrar sent a link to a Pointner article by David Beard about some good news sources. And if you're depressed and anxious reading your social feeds, and for God's sake, who isn't, and plus the daily horrible news and all the nastiness that's out there, two journalists have the antidote to everything we really need. The first is journalist Erin Rubery, who publishes the daily In Better News newsletter. And the second is Desiree Hsu, who does a weekly New York Times roundup, The Week in Good News. Both say it's not all bad news out there, and when you read their content, your day will definitely get better. The Washington Post has Animalia, which I love. HuffPost has Good News. BuzzFeed has Feel Good. And then there's the Dodo and the Dodo Impact about helping animals in need. So a good way to start your day, guys, and also a good way to end it, and a good thing to do after you've been reading the political news. Go and read about animals who are cute or people who are doing good things for other people. I guarantee it will cheer you up.
Yeah, well, reading good news is a great antidote to the bad news that's going out there. Laughing is as well, and we'll have plenty of laughs this podcast because we've got some other things coming that I guarantee will make you laugh. This one is one of them. This is a Super Bowl story, but it's not really about the Super Bowl. It's about a content marketing campaign by a Minnesota company, my favorite brewery, Surly Beer. Let me take a sip here.
For emphasis.
Exactly. So Surly did, in order to hijack the attention around the Super Bowl that was hosted in Minnesota this year, they wrote a blog post called "Welcome to Minnesota: A Primer." Now the blog post was ostensibly intended for the people who are visiting Minnesota, but it's really intended for Minnesotans because there's a lot of inside jokes here. So it's a really, really clever way of getting their brand out to a lot of people during a period where a lot of Minnesotans are going to be paying attention to the Super Bowl because we've hosted it this year. So it's published on January 29, Super Bowl week, the beginning of Super Bowl week. As I said, it was ostensibly to help Super Bowl visitors understand Minnesota, but it's largely meant for us Minnesotans. It's a list of what you need to know to understand Minnesota culturally. It begins with a paragraph. Welcome to Minnesota. You probably have a lot of questions. We don't blame you. It's cold. It's been colder, as someone already told you. And there are giant piles of snow and people keep talking about Juicy Lucy, and you don't even know a Lucy. Here's what we can tell you. And some examples of the long list. I'll only tell you a couple of examples of what you need to know about Minnesota. Please enjoy Nicollet Mall. So it took us 12 years to finish the thing. This is an inside joke. Nicollet Mall runs down the middle of downtown Minneapolis, and it started in 2015 to get finished by the Super Bowl. We just barely completed it before the Super Bowl started, and all downtown Minneapolitans, such as myself who work down there, are totally annoyed that it took so long. So it's an inside joke that Minnesotans would enjoy. Please enjoy First Avenue. It's an old Greyhound bus station. Prince and some other local kids made it a church. So First Avenue is the place that anyone who wants to make a name for themselves as a musician or a band goes to play when they're in Minneapolis. The outside of the building is lined with stars that have the names of a bunch of people big stars that you two played there. So a bunch of big name stars, when they're young, they come and play in Minneapolis. And that's where you go to see bands when they're up and coming before anybody knows them. And I've had tons of stories about great bands I've seen at First Avenue. Another one, the elevated sidewalks that connect downtown buildings are called skyways. One person called them sky bridges, and his body was never found. I have a blog post that I wrote about how to conduct yourself, the etiquette of using skyways, which or skywalks, skyways. Now I'm confused. Which we'll link to in the show notes. Regarding the Fargo accent. Unless you get outside the metro area, you won't hear it. Once you get to the suburbs, you'll hear traces. Once you get outstate, it's like being in the movie. And then lastly, when we almost collide in a doorway, we will say, "Ope." It's pure instinct. It's pure instinct at this point. We don't know why we say it. We're sorry we ran into you. We said, "Ope, let's move on." It's true. I never even realized that we do that as Minnesotans until I read this post. And it's true. I say it all the time. I never even realized it. So the article closes with Surly is at 520 Malcolm Avenue in Minneapolis. We're open from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. midnight to midnight on Friday and Saturday. The taps are pouring. The kitchen is open. We're happy to have you. A great piece of content about Minnesota culturally that closes subtly with, this is who we are. This is how you get to us. It's a killer example of content marketing. It entertains. It educates. It saves the selling to last. So far, it has 109,000 Facebook shares. So great example. We'll have a link to it in the show note of content marketing.
You should definitely have another sip of your beer after that.
Exactly.
So
toast to Surly.
Last week in The Week magazine, every week they have highlight homes for sale in various places. Last week it was Minneapolis, and my goodness, it's expensive there. But there were some fabulous homes, I must say. And then they always have a steal of the week. And there was one for sale for $230,000 in downtown Minneapolis. So that was probably in honor of the football game, whatever it was called.
Exactly. That thing that they do every year.
They do. Really, but you survived. I'm glad you survived.
I did.
So, you know how we've often talked about when something happens, a bad tweet or something, who do you blame? You blame the intern. Well, during the Seoul Olympics, Pyeongchang is a mountainous county, 110 miles southeast of Seoul in South Korea, and the host of the 2018 Olympics. P.F. Chang, on the other hand, is an Asian-inspired restaurant chain with 210,000 locations in the U.S. Pyeongchang and P.F. Chang's are not the same thing, obviously, beyond the fact that they both begin with the letter P and end in Chang. They have very little in common. Nonetheless, Chicago's WLS Channel 7 news team accidentally broadcast a report on Saturday morning with about the political backdrop to the Olympics, and it was illustrated with the graphic P.F. Chang 2018. So, of course, they blamed the graphics guy, to which Rob Marmot, who's an executive producer at the Norfolk VA TV news shows, tweeted, "Let us, LETTUCE, wrap our minds around this graphics blender. But seriously, aren't you glad you didn't make the mistake?"
Yeah. So maybe
Blame
some
the graphics guy.
maybe some multicultural investment in multicultural agency advising you. I mean, that's just something that they let an intern do it, and I actually believe it, because who makes that mistake?
Well, you know what? It happened, and it's funny, and I think they should have just owned up to it. But
Right. Yep. This is rather clever. This is from Campaign Publication. Domino's, the pizza outlet, who has actually a lot of clever things. I'm not a big fan. I don't eat their pizza, but like a lot of brands, they sometimes do some clever things, and I don't buy from them, but they're clever things. This is one of them. They have created a chat bot on Tinder for Valentine's Day. So it says that they say that it's can be tough to be out there during Valentine's Day as a single person. So they've created Dom Juan, the digital love guru, courtesy of Domino's, on Tinder. And it appears it's apparently the first time a company has used the Tinder's chatbot service. So they created a chatbot that appears as normal profile on the dating app. And after a user swipes right on the profile, Dom Juan delivers cheesy chat up lines as opposed to pickup lines to help singletons get a date, from adorable puns to funny gifs. An example of the chat up line includes is, "I pepperoni have eyes for you." Oh God. It is rather clever. And I'm always up for a good pun, so there you go.
There's the one, I think it is, that has this horrible ad on television that the guy gets out of his car with his, I'm pretty sure it's a Domino's pizza.
Yeah, it is.
He falls on him, and then the guy slips on the ice. And I mean, that's not funny. Like I just spent 2 months getting over
you're still suffering from PSTD.
God, somebody fall on the ice, not funny. So speaking of, do you have more good stuff?
I do, yes.
Oh, okay, go ahead, because I got some really bad stuff.
I think let's get the laughs in before we get to the bad stuff. This is from Board Panda, which always has great stuff. Julija Naji wrote the article, and it is 20 plus hilarious tweets by single people that will make you laugh, then cry. And I'm just gonna cite a couple of them, but they are hilarious. So the first one, Valentine's Day plan: 1, breakfast in bed; 2, chocolates; 3, watch movie; 4, dinner for 2; 5, regret eating 2 dinners; 6, cry alone. Yeah. The next one. Someone asked me if I'm ever scared that I'll be alone forever, which I thought was so rude because my dog was right there. Next one. Doctor, what are you using for birth control? Me. Just who I am as a person.
That's
next
mean.
one. Can't wait. Yeah, that's mean, but it's funny. Can't wait for Valentine's Day. I'm gonna run into as many restaurants as I can, shouting, "Knew I'd find you here, you bastard!" Then run out. Saw a couple holding hands while jogging, and it made me hopeful that one day I will meet someone who will hate them with me. Lastly, yeah, that's it. Let's go on to the stuff.
Are we on to the bad news now?
Let's go to the bad stuff.
That wasn't it, huh? Well, speaking of Valentine's, the Bronx Zoo had. I found this on Flipboard, and the Bronx Zoo had, without a doubt, the worst Valentine idea in the history of the world. It was called the it was called Roach Love. And, Americans spend a fortune on Valentine's Day. Dave will tell you more about it. So brands want to get in on the deal. And so the Bronx Zoo came up with this Valentine package that surely won't be forgotten. And in fact, I bet you'll dream about it after I tell you about it right now. For $15, you can name one of the zoo's 4-inch long Madagascar hissing cockroaches after your love, your ex, or your enemy. And they get a certificate with a photo of the thing. And then for $75, you get to name the bug. You get a roach pin, with a picture of a roach on it, not the kind that you use for other things, with unique socks with roaches on them and delicious chocolates that are shaped like roaches for your sweetie, including a print certificate. And for $30, you get just the box of chocolate that look like roaches, but thank God aren't. And, I'm sorry, but that's file. And no, I'm not going to include a picture in the blog post.
Thank you.
Or the
4-inch long. Oh my God!
Oh, it's disgusting. But
I mean, so you can buy for $15. You can name a roach for your love,
or your enemy,
ex, or your enemy. I think if you name it for your love, you're expecting your love to be your ex, right?
Or your enemy, yeah.
Or your enemy, yeah. One of the two, yeah. Oh my God! Thanks for sparing us the visuals.
No way. They had a video. Oh God. It was
no.
Yeah.
So BL, you and I, this is my love-hate relationship with a newsletter I know you follow religiously, and so do I, and is wonderful, and I recommend it to everyone, called The Full Monty. And it's a fantastic newsletter that basically runs down all aspects of online communications, all the stories that you need to pay attention to for the week in online communications. Wonderfully done. However, I have Outlook 365, which I'm not enamored with, but that's what I get at work. And in Outlook 365, everything in the newsletter is underlined. Everything is underlined. So I don't know where to click, because I don't know which is the hyperlink and what's just the text. So in my mobile app on 365, everything's formatted fine. But in the desktop version, it's not. So it's a cautionary tale. I know BL, you have no problems with it. It's formatted just fine with what email client do you use?
Gmail,
yeah. So this is just a cautionary tale that you need to test your emails with every major email client, because in Outlook 365 on the desktop only, that's all I get is just everything's underlined. So it's really hard to navigate, basically. So anyway, everybody should subscribe. I'm just saying. It's a
wonderful newsletter, and I read it religiously because Scott Monty covers everything that is happening and then some. So life in social media algorithm hell lately is not a lot of fun. Everybody's changing their algorithm, and a lot of people are getting pissed off. So Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat have all changed their major algorithms, and users are making it known that they're not happy. So there was a petition calling for Snapchat to roll back its redesign, and that petition has now hit 1 million signatures, up from just 600,000 a few days ago. It started from a hoax tweet claiming that the company would abandon the design if it was retweeted 50,000 times.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, but that tweet got 1.5 million retweets. People really hate the redesign. And then, like Facebook, Snapchat is lumping celebrities, aka influencers, with brands. And the Snapchat still opens to the camera, but now when you swipe left, you see your friends' posts and stories. When you swipe right, you see aggregated content from publishing partners as well as stories from celebrities, and people don't like that. And so Snapchat says it hopes that this will help users better separate personal connections from public figures, which is quite similar to what Facebook is doing, deciding what you're going to see. And there was a false thing going around that the new algorithm on Facebook only shows you 26 of your friends. And it seems that way because you just see the same people over and over in your feed, and you see their posts from 3 days ago, from last week. It's really very strange. But they claim that they're mending their ways, and they're going to, to change this. And the Facebook says it seeks higher quality videos that get the most traffic and share. And this is part of its earlier declared war on clickbait publishers. So back in December, Facebook had announced a change to its news feeds ranking that benefits pages with posts and videos that are repeated and that have the most strong viewership, which makes sense to a certain degree, as well as some new ways for large publishers to monetize their videos. Facebook removed posts from the pages that users don't follow from the news feed, dumped them in a category called Explore, which I bet you've never explored. And if brands want their content to be seen, hello, they can advertise it. So now Facebook's experimenting with a paywall on Android and iOS mobile apps, promising they're going to give 100% of the money to publishers. But then again, didn't they promise they were going to give 100% of the money to publishers if they put their stories in the news feeds, a year ago? So in the best comeback of the week, I thought this was great. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki, I think that's how you pronounce her name, quipped to Recode Sarah Swisher that Facebook should, quote, get back to baby pictures and sharing. YouTube, of course, is the world's largest video site, used by nearly 1 billion people, and Wojcicki, oh, I'm sorry, I can't say this name, was instrumental in Google's 2006 acquisition of YouTube, and now she oversees its business. So both Facebook and YouTube are very busy making changes in their video platforms to appeal more to brands and their ads. But as Dave recently noted on Beyond Social Media Show, I forget which episode it was, Dave, YouTube recently announced changes in its advertising program that makes it harder for small creators to make money. And, that's us. And that gives Facebook an avenue for appealing to them. So this move has pissed off smaller YouTube creators like us. And, the bottom line, and the reason I'm telling you all this, besides that I felt like bitching about it, is that I think that what everybody's doing is basically copying each other, and it's a race for brands' money. And, that's what they're there for. And people are getting annoyed. People are announcing, I'm leaving Facebook. I'm pissed about this. I'm leaving. Nobody's really leaving. Don't believe it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, YouTube shouldn't be so smug in their response, because Facebook is completely capitalized on it. I had a link to an article but I left it out this week on Facebook, basically saying, okay, YouTube wants to cut off all these small-time video creators. We'll offer you a good cut of the money for posting your videos on YouTube, on Facebook. So Facebook is seizing that opportunity, and YouTube should be aware of that. The Instagram or the Snapchat thing, I mean, that's another thing that was a buzz at the office, is all the changes to Snapchat, and all the millennials are up in arms about that. I play around with Snapchat. I haven't recommended it really for any of our clients. We mostly do B2B, so it doesn't really apply that much. And I don't know, it's being, as you said, everybody's copying each other. So all the features of Snapchat are available now in Facebook and Instagram.
Right,
and, so why should I worry about Snapchat if there's massive audience on Facebook and Instagram? So it's a bit of a mess, and really it is just pay to play. And ultimately, again, as we've hammered home, practically episode after episode, you need to own your audience. You need to get people's email addresses. You need to have a direct relationship with your own audiences.
Exactly. And, if you build your platform on your audience on someone else's platform, at some point you're going to get burnt.
Yeah.
So, okay, go ahead.
So, did you did you watch the Olympics? Have you watched the Olympics at all?
I watched some of the Olympics. I like the ice dancing. I like the skiing. I will never understand the luge, or what is the other thing called? The
curling.
Skeleton? Oh, curling. Yeah, really. But
curling's big. Don't be dissing curling. Curling's big here in Minnesota.
skeleton where you go head first down the luge track? I mean,
I don't
I'm
pay any attention to
sorry.
the Olympics, but did you watch the opening ceremonies?
I fell asleep during the opening ceremonies. The only thing that I thought was worth seeing during the opening ceremony was the guy from wherever he's from, who came in with his shirt off all greased up. And Katie Couric said, "I'll handle this one."
I'm really disappointed. I thought you were going to mention the drones. Okay, so
no, I thought the opening ceremony was pretty freaking boring.
So the opening ceremonies, though, featured drones. Apparently, they were pre-recorded, but they were live as they were being recorded. This is from an ABC News article that has swarm drones during the opening ceremonies that were synchronized. Synchronized swarm drones that form the shape of the Olympic circles and a snowboarder and a bunch of other figures. So it's really cool. It's very cool until you imagine them all armed.
Oh God!
Because that's the logical extension, right? So there you go. Worst.
So if you hear some squeaking in the background, it's Benny Ochman, the Labradoodle, who just brought me his loudest squeaky toy.
Oh, nice.
Remember, he used to do this when we first started the show.
Yeah.
All his squeaky toys.
I thought you had him trained.
I thought I did too. So the other thing I'm pissed off about this week is sexist Doritos. And the source of this one was a Freakonomics radio show with interview with Stephen J. Dubner. And to relieve women of dreadfully messy, noisy snack foods, Pepsi Company, parent company of Doritos, plans to introduce lady-friendly Doritos. Pepsi's CEO, thank you, Benny, that's enough. Pepsi Company CEO Indra Nooyi told Freakonomics Radio the new chips will be quieter and less messy. Wait, what? So the sexist snacks are, Benny, that's enough, are a change of pace from Doritos' really racy 2012 Super Bowl ad, which we'll include in the notes. But then again, we do live in strange times. And the lady chips would be joining Bic for her, Schick's Razor with boobs. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was really weird and short-lived. And then there was a beer for her. I forget who did that. And then the company, Pepsi, denied that this is a plan and said there's already a Doritos for women. It's called Doritos. So the takeaway, if there is one here, is be careful what you say to journalists. And I wrote a blog post about this because this is ridiculous. Why would you even say that, at all? I wish I had a Doritos to crunch right now, but I don't like them. I used to speak to Benny when I was training him, though.
Speaking of things that most people don't like, but you and I think we like these. So these don't freak us out as much as I think most people. Robots, right? Yeah, we are big fans of robots. Yeah. But Boston Dynamics, they always come out with the latest version of their robots. We've talked about these Boston Dynamic robots on the show many, many times. They've come out with another version of their doggy robot, their four-legged robot. And this one now, rather than just walking around and carrying things, it can now open doors. So they've got a video out showing a dog approaching a door, dog robot approaching a door, and it's got an arm extension on top of it that can actually open up a door. So get your locks, get your electronic locks in place because the robots are coming.
God, that's creepy. Speaking of creepy, I don't know how many people are aware of this outside of the ad industry, but Diet Madison Avenue is an anonymous, private, nasty Instagram account that calls out sexual harassment. And the source of this is an Ad Age article by Lindsay Stein. And what they're doing is they're naming and shaming Madison Avenue executives that they say have engaged in sexual harassment. The site Instagram has 13,900 followers. The tactics are crude and threatening, and they've been really taking deadly aim in the industry since January. And so in the last month or so, it's become sort of this twisted parlor game of who's next. And so far, Droga 5 chief creative officer Ted Royer, who was let go 2 weeks ago and who was one of 3 executives named in the account, became the subject of internal investigations within those agencies and have since left their jobs. The others, Martin Agency Chief Creative Officer Joe Alexander and former Wyden and Kennedy London Chief Strategy Officer Paul Coleman, in graphic language, calling some people pricks and even addressing the wife of one of their targets directly. It called Alexander an asshole. It tweeted at major leaders asking, why are you hiring and promoting sexual predators? It wrote GTFO when Coleman was let go and tacked on hashtags including fired and serial predator. It addresses agencies by name saying, we're watching you. It posts emails by victims detailing alleged harassment with names blanked out. The anonymity is really scary because the accused don't know their accusers. And once someone's called out, whether they turn out to be guilty as charged or not, their reputation is ruined. They publish nothing about their standards or their processes. And to a lot of people, including me, that's really wrong. One agency CEO told Ad Age that the mere existence of Diet Madison Avenue speaks to the very real issue of sexual harassment, but anonymous attacks with unknown evidence can yield stray bullets that hit innocent people. And once an accusation is launched, no matter what a court may or may not find, it's game over for that person. So one of 2 things is happening. Kat Gordon, who's the CEO of the 3% movement, said, and they try to bring more diversity to creativity. She told Ad Age either Diet Madison Avenue knows who the offenders are before agencies do, suggesting a real culture of fear program, or agencies know before Diet Madison Avenue and do nothing. The group is run by a collective of 17 men and women who all have various day jobs in advertising, and then they say they have additional assistance from 42 people on content creation, copywriting, design strategy, and website community management. And the people behind the site who communicated with Ad Age via Instagram Messenger so they could stay anonymous point out that the page is private. Well, you know, basically, so what? And they've posted several times in Instagram stories that Diet Madison Avenue is not a gossip page. They claim they research everything they publish with multiple sources. They say they collaborate with lawyers, PhD students, and professors. Most of the people interviewed by Ad Age for the story wanted to remain anonymous, and you can't blame them. They didn't want their words taken out of context, and they feared retaliation by the group. You know, this is a very thorny issue. Clearly, there's a problem. Clearly, there are predators. Clearly, agencies know about some of them and do nothing about it. This is like the issue of our time, and I think that it will lead to some changes for the better, but I don't think this is the way to get there.
Yeah, I agree. I think this type of an example, if there's not some type of due process, if it's not some type of structured due process to protect the innocent, it discredits the entire. It threatens to discredit the entire movement, which needs to be. I mean, this is a discussion that is long past due, right? And you don't want to discredit that discussion. It's a social justice issue that needs to be addressed. But this, I agree with you. I don't think is the way to do it. I've always said that the internet needs an editor, and I've said that, but I've said that largely from grammatical point of view. But the internet needs an editor from a news judgment point of view as well, too. So,
well, if you ask me, the whole world needs an editor. Right. I mean, you know, things are too long; they're ill-advised. But I mean, this is a tough one, you know. Yeah. Because they, on their Instagram page, it says boys will be at boys, and the boys is crossed out, and it says held accountable for their fucking actions. And you know, they're cruel, and it's a cruel situation. No 2 ways about it. So it's a fascinating turn in the whole dynamic, but I find it very frightening.
Well, true, and it's also another example, and we've seen this in a lot of different aspects of society. Is these tools that we have, these communications tools that we have, allow individuals to take on institutions it levels the playing field in communications and allows individuals to take on institutions. In some cases, that's laudatory. In some cases, it's irresponsible. So, this is the world we live in.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, an example of people using the tools happened in Parkland in Florida, when there was one young man who was interviewing the students that he was trapped with. And Francine Hardaway said, like, this is definite proof that journalism is a calling, because he has such a cool head. But, this was not possible when we were kids. Yeah. This was just not something that a kid could do. And just the thought, the tools are wondrous and dangerous.
Exactly. I mean, WikiLeaks is an example of that. From the beginning, we learned some things about our own government that we needed to know, but also it's a tool for disrupting our society. And I mean, God, this is a subject that we can go on and on about. So we might as well stop.
Does that bring us to shiny objects?
One more last thing for me on the worst. This is a too long must-read article by Wired, Nicholas Thompson and Fred Volgenstein. It's an excellent account. The article is inside Facebook's 2 Years of Hell, and it's a really long article. You must read it. Excellent. It's an excellent account of how Facebook realized the platform was being used by Russia to manipulate the American electoral system. By the way, today 13 Russians were indicted by Mueller. Yeah. But the only thing in the article that I was disappointed with that they left out is the role that Cambridge Analytica played in the manipulation. Nevertheless, great article. You got to read it. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. On to cool stuff.
This is also about not cool stuff. Pointner.org listed several ways to tell if your Twitter followers are bots and how to remove them. So this is definitely a must read. It tells you, if you have fake Twitter followers. And so what happens when people use them, like people who have 1 million followers suddenly have 50,000, because there are just so many bots.
Good tool. Here's another one that I just discovered. If you've got a website and you feel you have a need for a privacy policy, and most people copy and paste other people's privacy policies, right?
Yeah.
But this is a privacy policy generator, free privacy policy generator called freeprivacypolicygenerator.com. Basically, logically enough, it forces you to answer a series of questions. Takes about 15 minutes to complete. And then generates a ready-made privacy policy based on your responses to the questions that you can copy and paste in your site. So there you go. Save yourself some legal fees. So
that's a good one. Barracuda Security Insight is a free service that lets you click through and see the kind of attacks that are prevailing on any given day, then the current threat level and a cybersecurity index. And the goal is to protect you by alerting you to risks. And one of the things that they talked about, and also it interacts with Alexa and Google's Google Home, so users can get information via voice interface. But one of the things that, I just lost my train of thought. Never mind.
So I got another one. I've got a Pin Groupie. So Pin Groupie is a tool that you can use to find Pinterest boards to join. So Pinterest boards are basically a board that are a community of like-minded interests on Pinterest that you can join according to Pinterest's own categories that they categorize pins around. So you can find if you have pinnable stuff, you can use this tool to find boards that you can pin your stuff to and get other people seeing your stuff and contribute to the community. And cool tool.
That's a nice idea. Yeah. So anybody who ever falls asleep on trains will relate to this. When I used to commute, I used to fall asleep on the train all the time, but I was the last stop, so I didn't have to worry about it. But if you're not, there's a problem. So now there's an app for that. It's called Wake Me Here, and it's a location-based alarm clock that wakes you when you're at your stop on public transportation. And I think that's just a really great service to humanity.
Google Maps, remember we talked about this in a previous episode. Google Maps has that feature now as well.
They do?
Yeah,
oh, I forgot.
Google Maps. Yep, because they track your transit thing, so it'll wake you up when you need to be woken.
So you have a couple of projects while I was home with the flu. You were busy.
Right. Yeah. So Super Bowl was several weeks ago, so I won't bore you with this, but I have a list of the winners and losers in the ad sweepstakes in Super Bowl Sunday. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. But this is more recent. We have a post on Valentine's Day tweets. So I've collected 10 brands that scored with Valentine's Day tweets, and I'll link to that in the show notes. I'm going to cite just a couple of them because they're pretty cool. They're pretty clever. Billboard magazine had a tweet that has the top 50 love songs of all time. They link to it. Of course, they have the list because they're Billboard. And the image is great because it's got a mixtape that says love songs on it. And the tape is spooling out from the cassette tape into a heart shape. It's very well done. Spotify and Michelle Obama.
I love this.
Isn't this great? They apparently teamed up to promote Michelle Obama's Valentine's Day mixtape for the love of her life, Barack Obama. So they've got Forever Mine, Michelle to Barack. It's a playlist of love songs that Michelle Obama promoted.
It's a great list.
Yeah. And then Disneyland had a picture of Mickey and Minnie nuzzling noses together. Perfectly natural. That was well done. BioWare, the video game publisher, had a picture of a frame with rose petals around it. But in the frame, it's a video actually, is a collection of all of their video game characters who happen to be aliens. So I love the contrast. So anyway, I'll put a link to this in the show notes. You can see the rest.
Besides robots, we like aliens around.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So I think that brings us to your daily numbers.
Yeah, let's wrap this up, of course. I hope everyone had a wonderful Valentine's Day. Let's wrap it up with some Valentine's Day numbers.
I just have to tell you that my father sent me cookies for Valentine's Day. They arrived a week early. They were all gone by Valentine's Day. I'm not having Valentine's Day cookies.
So this is from CNBC, Valentine's Day spending, of course. Americans spend nearly $20 billion on Valentine's Day. That's a lot. This post, we'll link to it in the show notes, has an accompanying video where they interview people in Times Square. And they ask people, how much will you spend on Valentine's Day? How much should be spent on Valentine's Day? To which some people answered. One answer was, money can't buy love. Another answer was, money is the best way to make you happy. That's a nice contrast. And another little nugget here. Men spend nearly twice as much as women on Valentine's Day. So you women, you need to kind of step up your game a little. I'm just saying.
You got that wrong, Dave.
So that wraps it up.
Well, let me take the show out in that case. Thank you for watching episode 217 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And links to everything that we discussed tonight, it will be on our blog, beyondsocialmediashow.com/217. And so we hope you let us know what you think. And Dave Erickson, my very charming co-host, is at D Erickson on Twitter. He blogs at eStrategyblog.com and creativepr.com/blog, both of which I highly recommend. And his YouTube channel, eStrategy, which YouTube recently dissed, and with their new policies. And I'm BL Ochman, and on Twitter, I am at What's Next. I blog at what'snextblog.com. On YouTube, I am surprisingly What's Next Blog. My website is blochman.com. And you'll find the show on the web at beyondsocialmediashow.com, on YouTube, on Google+, on Twitter. On Twitter, we're BS Media Show. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. And if you follow us on iHeartRadio, then Alexa and Google Home, right, will be able to turn us on for you.
Google Home. Surprisingly enough, we're on Google Play Music, which is weird. But it isn't piped into Google Home yet. So what the hell is up with that?
It's on the stick, Google. So we'll be back. We'll be back on Thursday next week, our regular time. And we hope to see you then. And we thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.